Hey, all you cool cats and kittens, it's your favorite history teacher back at you again with another historical video. Today, we're not talking about just one revolution, although it kind of is just one revolution, but it's not a revolution that, kind of starts and stops. It kind of just is a long-winded buildup of innovation and technology. And you guessed it, we're talking about the Industrial Revolution. So let's get right into it. And yeah, so this is a 2 title note day. If you want to include this as say, what do I want to say? Well, Unit 4 is the Industrial Revolution, so that should be your title page. And then turn the page, and you should have the Industrial Revolution begins at the top of your margin of notes. Okay, and that's chapter 5. That's the title of chapter 5. So that's why I say it's a 2 title note day, because you're going to take this title for chapter 5, and then you write down the section title of chapter 5, section 1. Okay. So write that down. All right. So chapter 5, section 1 is called The Dawn of the Industrial Age. Now, if you don't know what dawn is, dawn's like the morning, sunrise. So the beginnings of the Industrial Age. That was weird. I don't know why I did that. All right, so objectives, you'll be able to explore. Did I skip over your warm-up? Interesting how it's here and not before your warm-up. That's new. Anyways, you're going to explore how the agricultural revolution led to a migration from farms to cities. Explain how the agricultural revolution led to a booming population and growth in industry, and learn about new sources of energy and its effects. That's your warm-up. All right, so grab some popcorn, people, because the Industrial Revolution is about to begin. So following the rise of civilization around the world, most people lived in and worked on small farming villages. However, a key chain of events set in motion in the mid-1700s is going to change the way of life for all time. This is called the Industrial Revolution, and it started in Britain. Test question, final question. Are we going to have a final? If we were, that's a final question. The economic changes Britain experienced affected people's lives as much as the previous political changes and revolutions had. It was neither sudden nor swift. It was a long, slow, uneven process in which production shifted from simple hand tools to complex machines. And from the beginnings in Britain, the Industrial Revolution spread to the rest of Europe, North America, and including the globe. Crazy. All right, so the simple way of life. In 1750, most people worked the land by using handmade tools. They lived in simple cottages, lit by firelight and candles. Oh, the rustic village. Many made their own clothing and grew their own food. In nearby towns, they might exchange goods at an outdoor market, barter, and I'll give you a pig for a bale of hay. I don't know, something like that. Like their ancestors, these people knew very little of the world around them. Just because, what do you want to say? Christopher Columbus sailed the blue sea. You had to have money in order to travel, much like today. You got to have money in order to travel. And, this is before pictures. This is before, the printing press is created, but, again, you have to have money to do this. And there's a lot of poor people still around the world, still today. And, you know, they don't have access to technology, so they know very little. The few people who left home only got as far as their feet would go or how far their horse-drawn cart could take them. And these bold adventurers who dared to cross the seas were at the mercy of the winds and the tides. Because again, technology, there's no motorized engine, so you simply just can't cross with a boat. Okay, you have to use the sails, the wind. All right. If you've ever seen Pirates of the Caribbean, there you go. Using the sails. All right, this is a simple village. And if you notice this, I know it's pixelated, but this image right here, you know, most villages are surrounded around a church. All right, so the ways of life change. With the onset of the Industrial Revolution, the rural way of life began to disappear. I don't know why I'm talking with a Southern accent if we're talking about Europe. By the 1850s, many country villages had grown into industrial towns and cities. Those who lived there would be able to buy clothing and food from someone else had produced. So these industrial age travelers moved quickly between countries and continents via train or steamship. Urgent messages flew along telegraph wires. New inventions and scientific discoveries poured out each individual year. And between the years of 1830 to 1855, you have such inventions like an American dentist used the first anesthetic while, you know, performing, you know, cavities or root canals. The first anesthetic was finally used during this time. There was the patent of the first sewing machine. They were able to measure the speed of light. Sorry about that. They introduced antiseptic methods to reduce the risk of women from dying from childbirth. The stunning changes continued into the next century. What caused that to occur? Rhetorical question. And historians point to a series of interrelated causes that would help trigger the industrialization of the West. And when I'm talking about the West, I'm talking about Western Europe. I'm not talking about Western America. All right, I'm talking about the West. You know, France, Germany, England. All right, so you have quality and quantity. The Industrial Revolution was made possible in part by a change of the way of farming fields in Western Europe. From the first agricultural revolution, when humans learned first how to farm and domesticate animals, up until about, 300 years or so, farming had remained practically the same. So then a second agricultural revolution took place, which greatly improved the quality and quantity of farm products. So the British take the reins. This is a test question. Whoa. British take the reins. So the Dutch were the first. I know it's a little misleading because I say British take the reins, but then the Dutch lead it. The Dutch are the first to experiment and start this new wave of agricultural revolution happening. All right, so the Dutch are the first, and what they did is they built earthen walls called dikes to reclaim land taken from the sea. They're going to combine smaller fields into larger ones to make better use of the land and to use fertilizer from the livestock to renew the soil. And some farmers, some scientists partake in this, and they're going to write it in their journals. And in the 1700s, the British farmers are going to expand on these Dutch experiments that they read about. Educated farmers exchange news of experiments through farm journals. Hey, I just said that. Some mixed different kinds of soils to get higher crop yields. Others tried new methods of crop rotation. I believe crop rotation is a test question. You got to tell me, how it works. You have a guy named Lord Charles Townshend, and he's going to urge farmers to grow turnips to restore the exhausted soil. Because if you just grow one crop in one area over a long period of time, you end up with the Dust Bowl, like in America. You have a man named Jethro Tull, and he invented a new device called the seed drill to aid farmers. And what it did was it deposited seeds in rows rather than scattering them over the land. So like in a orderly fashion, instead of just, flinging out seeds left and right. All right. They now had a drill that purposely went deep enough into the soil, poop, and plopped one little seed in the correct order, correct fashion. So an explanation of crop rotation, that rhymed, bars. So you have the bean family, potato family, root and onion family, and cabbage family. And so you grow certain crops in one plot of land. I'm pointing at my screen like you guys can see. You grow one type of crop in a plot of land, and then the next season you rotate. So now you have the bean family growing in this plot of land, and you have the potato family growing in this plot of land. You have the root and onion family growing in this plot of land. You got cabbage in the first one. All right. And it replenishes nutrients back into the soil so it doesn't get exhausted. All right, enclosure move. I believe this is a test question. Meanwhile, rich landowners pushed ahead with enclosures, which is the process of taking over and consolidating land formerly shared by peasant farmers. In the 1500s, landowners had enclosed this land to gain more pastures for sheep to increase the wool output, because the more sheep eats, the more wool they grow. By the 1700s, they wanted to create larger fields that be cultivated more efficiently. And there's that first word, efficient. Efficiently, efficiency. That is what the Industrial Revolution is all about, people. How much faster, how much better products can I get in a timely manner? Efficient. And British Parliament was actually going to facilitate enclosures through laws of legislation. As millions of acres were enclosed, farm output is going to rise. Profits rose too, because now large fields needed fewer workers. But such progress came with a cost. Many farm laborers were out of work. They were forced off their poor peasant land, and villages are going to shrink. In time, these jobless workers are going to migrate from towns to the cities, where they soon formed a greater labor force that would tend to the machines of the Industrial Revolution. So this is an enclosure. You have, like these hedges, and you got almost crop rotation happening right here. All right. Okay. So the effects and the agricultural revolution contributed to the rapid growth of any population. Precise population statistics of the 1700s are rare, but those that exist are striking. For example, Britain's population soared from 5 million in 1700 to around 9 million in 1800. The whole population of Europe went up from 120 million to over 180 million in that same time period. And never across the globe, the world history period, had seen such a growth in human activity, human births, ever. Why? Well, the agricultural revolution reduced the risk of death from famine because it created a surplus of food. So now you have this chain reaction. This is a test question. If you ever see anything underlined in my notes, that means it's on your final. And I don't know if we're going to have a multiple choice test final yet. Who knows? But just in case, that would be on your final, period. So you have farmers. You have farmers consolidating all this big old land, okay? The more land they have, the more crops they can grow, which means if they do it right, the more crops produced. And because, you know, if you know anything about capitalism, the more you have of something in the market, the less the price, the less the cost of price will be for it. Because, you know, if you flood the market with all these heads of lettuce, these vines of tomatoes, these, I don't know, all these carrots, okay? There's an abundance of carrots. Why should they be $50 a pound? I'm not saying that that's possible, but you have a surplus and an overproduced amount of crops, which leads to a cheaper price, which means people can now, poor people too, can now afford to buy these crops and eat them. And because they can eat them, they can become healthier because, hey, food's good for the soul. And because they're healthier, they can live longer, they can work, they can marry, they can have children. And that process just keeps going and going and going and going. And because they ate better, they became healthier. All right. Also, the use of better hygiene and sanitation, because, you know, they got to wash their hands after, you know, they do they do number 2 or number 1. Sanitation also improved, and medical care also further slowed the deaths from disease. So that whole chain reaction I just described, you have to mention that on your test. You don't mention it, you don't get points. All right. So you have an abundance of food at cheap prices, which allow poor people, any people, to go buy it, eat it, give it to their family. Because it's at a cheap price, so anyone can afford it. And the more they eat, the better they become, because, hey, you're not dying from starvation anymore because you're poor. All right. Steam engine. Another factor of the IR, I'm going to abbreviate the IR to the Industrial Revolution, much like I did the American Revolution, the AR, French Revolution to FR, so the Industrial Revolution, IR. It was the development of new technology. Aided by new sources of energy and materials, new technology enabled business owners to change the way work was done. During the 1700s, people began to harness this new source of energy, and one vital power source was coal, which was used to develop the steam engine. In 1712, you have a guy named Thomas Newcomen, and he developed the steam engine powered by coal to pump water out of mines to get coal. Because as they kept digging, more water would be coming there, so they need to get the water out so they can keep digging for coal. So, not a lot of credit gets given to Thomas Newcomen because your boy James Watt, no, he's not related to J.J. Watt or his brothers. In 1764, this Scottish engineer, James Watt, improved the steam engine to make it more, there's that word again, efficient. Okay. How fast can I do something and make it the best possible style, the best possible way? All right. And after several years of improvements, Watt's engine will be the key power source of the entire Industrial Revolution. And not only did it help operate machinery, but it also later helped power locomotives, trains, and steamships. Our boy, that's Thomas Newcomen, and that's James Watt. They kind of almost look the same. I had to do some digging trying to find pictures of who Thomas Newcomen is and who James Watt is, because if you look up James Watt, you're going to get pictures of this guy. If you look up Thomas Newcomen, you're going to get pictures of James Watt. So, you know, you had to differentiate. And here's the steam engine. Apparently, it pumps water out of the mines. If you can read this diagram, good for you. All right, J. Cole. See what I did there. Coal was also a vital power source of fuel in the production of iron, which was needed for the construction of machines and steam engines. And then your book goes on to give a nice little, you could almost say, what is it called? a real life example of what happens in regards to coal in England. And you have the Derby family of the aptly named city, the aptly named town of Coal Brookdale, and they pioneered new methods of producing iron. In 1709, Abraham Darby used coal instead of charcoal to smelt iron, which is separating iron from its ore. The Darby family's experiments led him to produce less expensive but better quality iron, which was used to produce parts for the steam engine. His son and grandson would improve upon his methods, and Abraham Darby III is going to be the case study. That's that word I was looking for, case study. Anyway, Abraham Darby III built the world's first iron bridge, and that's fascinating. All right. So that was a quick little lecture on the beginnings of the Industrial Revolution. Tomorrow we'll dive deeper into it. But before I get to tomorrow, your homework is page 173, 3 through 5. So hopefully y'all enjoyed it. Make sure you smash that like button if you did. And as always, stay safe and wash your hands, people. Peace.